All right, I think we're good. Then go ahead and get started. Hi everyone. My name is Alexis, and just want to welcome you guys to another part of our series, the New and Now series, featuring product updates for September 2023. I'm glad you guys are here, and we're excited to get started with you. Our New and Now series is designed to cover new updates released from HubSpot each month and give you guys real use case examples that are designed to help you level up your HubSpot portal. So we will be hosting these on a monthly basis, so be sure that you connect with us so you can never miss out on those future events. Coming up today, we're going to start with the kind of most exciting new features and use cases. So you'll see a couple examples listed here, have some things going on with new property features and how you can structure those, create forms and other areas that we're using those custom properties, as well as reporting and sequences. So lots of cool stuff coming up. And then we will also be touching on some smaller updates that you may have missed, but we still think they deserve some recognition to hit on some of those smaller ones. And then finally, we'll have our Q&A segment to answer any of your questions. So feel free to just send those over in that Q&A section as soon as you think of them, and we will answer as many as we can at the end. If you're not familiar with Simple Strat, we are a diamond level solutions partner for HubSpot. So we help you get more out of your HubSpot license. So we're here to offer you free support, whether that is purchasing assistance, if you're a new customer coming on HubSpot, or maybe you're using the free or starter version, you're looking to upgrade, not really sure what features you might need. So we're here to answer those types of questions for you to help you get the right features and right prices for everything when it comes to upgrading your HubSpot. We also help clients out by auditing their portal. We have a Fix My HubSpot package to really deep dive into what's going on and fix anything that might be outstanding issues, fix some reporting, those kinds of things. And then also just implementing new features and ideas. So a lot of the things that we'll be covering today are going to give you some great use case examples, but you might not know where to start. So we're the perfect people to help you guys get those things implemented. And then lastly, of course, lots of ongoing HubSpot education. So we have 2 webinar series that we host, as well as our HubSpot Hacks YouTube channel, where you can check out lots of new ideas. So that is all for me. We're going to dive right in. We've got lots of new features to cover. So I'm going to kick things over to Tyler to get us going.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexis. I'll give everybody a warning. I am recovering from a bit of a chest cold, so my voice is a little bit off today. I think it's going to hold through, though, for the next hour or so. But if I do have to mute myself for a little cough attack, I apologize in advance. But I think we're going to be good. Awesome. So as Alexis said, as many of you know, if you joined us before, we're going to be starting with some of these new features that I think are kind of most exciting and have the most use cases. I'll be honest, I was a little bit worried about this webinar because we're coming off a month of inbound. I just gave the inbound recap about 3 weeks ago. I was like, oh, I don't know if HubSpot's going to release that much the next 3 weeks right after they just did this major haul for inbound. I need not to have worried. They have been releasing features like crazy. My LinkedIn feed of like all the HubSpot community and other partners, like everybody's just talking about how much they have been updating. So we've got a lot of good updates for you. A lot of these are going to be more on the technical side. They released a lot of technical updates, but they have a lot of really great practical use cases that hopefully kind of make them sound a little bit more approachable than just kind of the update name makes them sound. So without further ado, we will jump right in here. If you are new, welcome. We have kind of a standard slide layout that we have as we go through these. So for every new update, you'll see on the left-hand side kind of the name of the update. So I try to keep the name pretty standard to what HubSpot calls it. So if you are looking for information after the webinar, these are the names to kind of Google or look for. And then underneath the name of the update, it'll say whether it's in public beta or live. So public beta, you have to go actively enroll to get that feature today, or you can wait until it launches live. If it's live, should be in your portal today as long as you have the right license. And then underneath that public beta or live, it'll tell you what license you need. So which hubs that you would need, and then which tier within those hubs. So if you have any questions, you can always drop it in the Q&A and we will answer that. So this first update is conditional property logic. So it's one of those that sounds super technical. It's actually very easy to use and has a ton of practical use cases. We'll talk about some of them here today. If you are kind of an avid power user, you may be aware that this feature actually released a couple months ago for a very specific place in HubSpot. So when you were creating records, you could add conditional property logic. Well, so what this update is they've rolled it out to pretty much everywhere in HubSpot where a user would be updating properties. This is now available. So dependent properties can either be optional or required. So in the example you see on the screen here, they're all required, marked by that asterisk, but they can also be optional properties that just pop up. And where you find this is in your property settings. It's kind of confusing because you would think that it might be in like the settings for the individual property where you go to create or edit a property. There's actually a new tab after you enroll in the beta called Conditional Property Logic, where all of this is controlled. And I'll show you in a couple of slides what that tab looks like. So a couple use cases for this. One would be providing more details around those close lost deals. So if you've been watching my content, you probably are aware that we recommend having a drop down for close lost reasons for deals. So a deal gets moved to close lost, having a drop down for, we lost them to a competitor, or we lost them because of pricing, or the solution wasn't a good fit, helps you do reporting around why you're losing those deals. You might also want additional information. So the example we have on screen here is, let's say we lost a deal to a competitor. You might then want to know who the competitor was that actually won that deal. So this would be an example of, if somebody selects that competition was the reason that it was closed lost, it pops up that property of, well, who was the competitor that won? And you can do that for any of your closed lost reasons that additional context might be helpful. Another one would be preferred contact methods. So let's say you've got a custom property on your contacts or your company records that you're asking, or you're identifying. How does, in this case, Mr. Boberson, how would he like to be contacted? He likes SMS. So let's make sure we've got his mobile phone number. So if a user anywhere across HubSpot marks SMS as a preferred contact method, then we ask for the mobile phone number, because obviously we would need that if we're going to be texting Mr. Boberson. One of the things that I try to do in these slides is show you what this looks like across the different places inside of the HubSpot platform. So this last example, this is kind of what it looks like when you're setting it up. This is what it looks like if you have it set up and you're editing a property on the left-hand side. And this next one is what it looks like in kind of the quick view of a deal. So for this one, we're asking for if a salesperson is marking a deal as a high priority, if it's a high priority, we better have a next step on that deal. So in this case, they've marked it as high. The dependent property of next step is set up, and that's required. So it's going to say, okay, salesperson, if you've got a high priority deal, we need to make sure we're going to have a next step so we can keep this high priority deal moving forward. Obviously, those are 3 examples, but there are a ton, and your processes and information that you're storing in HubSpot are going to dictate what you need. So my recommendation for you is to kind of audit your existing setup today and look for places where you can streamline it. So there's a good chance that you can reduce the amount of properties that you're showing in the CRM for anytime you're creating a record, advancing deal stages or ticket stages, any of those index views. So an index view is just like if you go to contacts and see the list of contacts and you can see them in the columns, it actually works there too. So if you edit a property in one of those columns, it'll show the dependent properties right there for you. And association cards. So really anytime that you're showing properties just because you want to make sure that they get filled out, not necessarily because somebody actually needs to see that information right there in that view, then I highly recommend that you kind of audit and look to move to some of those independent properties. So what you would do is you'd audit these locations, remove those properties from those views, and then re-add through the conditional properties where possible. And so on the right-hand side of your screen here, that conditional property logic tab, this is the tab that you're looking for in your property settings. This is the tab where you're going to be able to control all of this. All right, next one, formula fields in the custom report builder. So anybody that's been doing custom reports in HubSpot, this is probably going to be a limitation that you have ran up against in the past, and HubSpot is now making this available. So one caveat here, if you're using Operations Hub Enterprise and you have data sets, you already have had this. And if you don't have that, this is HubSpot kind of sharing the love and saying, okay, you don't have to pay for Operations Hub Enterprise to get a little bit of that functionality. So it is a public beta. It's available across all the hubs as long as you have a professional or enterprise level subscription. So it allows you to add one formula field per report. It works with any number properties. So unfortunately, it doesn't work on date properties. It's got to be a number property. And it's row level math. And I think as I show the examples, that'll make sense. But we're doing math on rows. They already have some features to do some like summation and averages for columns. That's already in the reporting tool. It does have to be used with properties. So we are in public beta. This is one of those things that I really, really hope changes when they make it live. If you're in reports, they have what they call default measures. So you've got like deals in reports. There's a default measure you can drag into the report that's like the number of deals. Unfortunately, you can't use those in the formulas yet, which unfortunately kills a lot of the use cases that honestly I wanted to show you, but there are still some great ones, and I do hope that changes. I know I'll be in HubSpot's here. I hope you guys are too, getting them to change that. But it does do some cool things now, and it can be used with any visualization type. So what I'm going to show you is some table use cases. It can be used for bar charts, line charts, and all that stuff as well. So let's get into some of the stuff that it can do today. So you can do a lot with a deal revenue math, so math that involves the deal revenue. So for example, if you wanted to show your gross profit, so let's say some of these do involve custom properties. Reporting is only going to be as good as the data that you have in the system. So getting that data in the system, usually through custom properties, is going to be required for a lot of this. But let's say you've got a property on your deal that adds up the costs of that deal, the costs of producing the product or delivering the service. You could show gross profit in a report by just simply taking the deal amount minus that deal cost properties. You could show realized revenue. So if your deal amount is kind of the total amount or the gross amount there, and then you've got discounts, you could show the realized revenue of the amount minus the discounts. You could calculate commissions in a report. So your deal amount times your standard commissions percentage. You can also do things like revenue per day to close. So you could say, what's our deal amount? How many days did it take to close that deal? And you could divide that to show that, to give you kind of a sales velocity type indication there. We can also do some cool things around companies. So this is an example where, let's say I want to see a list of all of my, all the companies that I've sold to in the past, and I want to see what's the average deal size for them. So let's say I've got a product or service where I'm often doing recurring sales or multiple sales per company, but I want to see, which companies have kind of the largest average deal size or the lowest average deal size. So I could say total revenue divided by the number of associated deals. You could do this with built-in properties. It would be even better if you had a custom property for the amount of won deals and kind of a workflow that kept track of that. But you could do what I've got shown here today. And then event attendance percentage. So obviously we like webinars. If you like webinars or any other kind of events that you're tracking in HubSpot, you could show a list of all of the contacts that have registered for webinars in the past and show how often they actually show up. So you'll notice I've got kind of the formula builder covering up some of the data. This is our live portal, so I didn't want to share everybody's name and put them on blast, except for Ali Tess down there not showing up to any of our webinars, dang her. But this is something you could do today. If you do Zoom webinars and you have the integration, you could do this today and build this report right after you enrolled in the beta. Video modules and CTAs. So CTAs is something that HubSpot is paying a lot of attention to, spending a lot of time on. I think some CTA feature has been in just about every month of these for the last 3 or 4 months. So their newest one is you can now put video in it. It is available through beta today, and really to anybody that has CTAs, which is going to be CMS Hub or Marketing Hub at Starter or higher. So Starter Professional Enterprise. And the way that it works is it's very similar to, it's actually the exact same as these kind of standard video module that HubSpot has. If you've used that for a landing page or a blog post where you've dragged that in, it's exactly the same. So basically what they've done is they made that module available for CTAs. So you can use it for HubSpot hosted videos that you upload to your HubSpot portal. And you can also do it for external videos. So in this case, we've got a HubSpot hack in there. So some use cases for this, there are quite a few. I'm just going to kind of run through the list here. So one of the things that you can do if you've been kind of at some of the previous webinars that we've talked about updates, or if you've kind of played with the new CTAs tool, you know that you can now trigger a pop-up based on a button click. So one of the things you could do is you could have a button that says, click to watch or whatever, and you could populate that video in a pop-up. So if it makes sense to really not have the video on the page, but to make it available to watch, you can do that. You could also have a testimonial video slide in on a service page, which is the example we've got on the right-hand side here. We've just got a demo service page. So the testimonial video, it's a real testimonial video that we made for a client, but it has nothing to do with the stuff on the page. So hopefully yours are tighter correlated, but imagine that experience of, somebody's considering a service, they're on your website, they're looking at your service page, and then all of a sudden they get this little pop-in of a customer that's actually talking about their experience with that service. So great way to give that customer or that potential buyer a little bit more information about what it's like to work with you, and also to help you increase conversions. You can do the same thing for like job openings. So this is really top of mind for us. We're hiring a HubSpot specialist. So if you are a HubSpot expert looking for a job, we're hiring that role right now. But let's say you've got a job opening page about a role, then you have a hiring manager just come in, little video of them talking about what it's like to work for your company, or what they're looking for in that role. Just a great way, again, to add that additional context and increase conversions there. You could add a short video to a newsletter subscription pop-up CTA. So let's say you've already got a pop-up asking people to subscribe to your newsletter. Why not add a little video there that's very short, but talks about, why somebody might want to subscribe to your newsletter. And then you can do that for really anything you're asking somebody to do, right? So if you've got embedded CTAs and blog posts or throughout your website, asking people to sign up for a webinar, download a piece of content, any action you want them to take, why not add a little bit of video to make that a little bit more engaging and really make the case about, what the value is for the person that would be doing that download or registering, what the value is for them to increase that conversion rate. So definitely recommend this is something you test and play with. I think there's a lot of great ways to increase the conversions across your CTAs. Contact lifecycle stage properties. So this one I think is huge. It actually changes some of the ways that I recommend how people use lifecycle stages. So it's live already. You already have this in your portal. It's across all the hubs as long as you're a pro or enterprise. So what's not new, right? We've had lifecycle stage properties. The actual lifecycle stages aren't new. What is new is 4 new properties that HubSpot has added for every stage in your pipeline, including custom stages. So HubSpot has had a couple properties about lifecycle stages in the past that were automatically calculated. So they used to have became a subscriber date, became a customer date, any of their default lifecycle stages. They would show you the date that they became that, and it would show you the time it took them to move from that stage to the stage of customer. Couple problems with that. It only showed one instance of them being in that stage. So if you ever recycling leads, it kind of muddied things up. And it also didn't add those properties for any custom stages you added. So for example, one of the lifecycle stages that we add to a lot of portals is former customer. Well, there's no way to, you couldn't get those kind of already calculated properties on that lifecycle stage. You had to build a workflow and manually create those properties to track that. Now, HubSpot has 4 properties available for all lifecycle stages on the contact record, whether they're custom or pre-built. And those 4 stages are cumulative time in that stage. So if they've been in that stage multiple times, adds up all the time. So let's say the first time they were in that stage was for 3 days. Second time they were in that stage was for 3 days. Now they'll be that property will read 6 days they were in that stage. The date that they entered that stage, the date that they exited that stage, that'll be for the last time they were in it. And then the latest time. So that example of in it for 3 days, out, in it for 3 days again, that latest time would read that 3 days for the last time they were in it. So last time they're in the stage, how long were they in it for? And then cumulative is all the time they've spent in that stage. So lots of use cases for this. The big one is around reporting. There's all kinds of things you can do around reporting. In this example, we're showing you for all of our customers in our portal, how long did they spend in each stage on average? So this report for all current customers, the way we built this is in the custom report builder. The contacts object is just one object. So it's custom report builder, contacts object. It's like vertical bar chart as your visualization. Add lifecycle stage to the x-axis. add cumulative time in all the stages that you want to see. So there's multiple properties there for the y-axis. Rename them because they're really long, and you only need to see, like subscriber lead, you only need to see the name of the stage. And then set a filter so lifecycle stage is any of customer. So if they're current customer, lifecycle stage is marked as customer, how much time do they spend at each stage on average? That's what this report shows. It's a great way to say, okay, on average, if they're going to become a customer, for in this example, they're a lead for about 39 days. So we can use that to see how this is changing over time, to also affect our behavior with how we treat those leads. I'll show you an example here in a second. We can also see things like average SQL rate or age by rep. So how good are our reps at turning SQLs into opportunities quickly? How quickly can they do that? And how do our reps compare? So this is a custom report builder. Again, context is the object, visualization type here is table. So we had contact owner and cumulative time in sales qualified lead as the fields and as our columns in our table. We renamed the SQL field because, again, those properties the names are really long and make the tables look pretty ugly. And then we set the filter to lifecycle stages, any of our sales qualified leads. So we're looking at our current sales qualified leads. So this table here is showing, it's dummy data across Ali, Will, and myself. I'm losing in this example. So for everybody it's still in SQL, I've got I've got an aging pool of SQLs. So it might be a good idea for my manager to tell me, hey, you've probably got some SQLs that aren't going anywhere. Let's recycle them back to marketing. Let's build a plan of action for re-engaging some of those. Let's see if we can move some of these forward. Another thing you can do is use it to trigger workflows. There's all kinds of different workflows that you might want to trigger based on this. So a few of them, let's say you want a new drip or a more frequent email drip when a contact has been in the stage longer than average, right? So that first report, we showed that all of our customers on average have been in the lead stage for about 40 days. Well, let's say somebody's been in the lead stage for longer than that. That might be a suggestion to us that maybe we need to try a little bit harder to get them engaged with maybe a new drip or a more frequent drip. Try a little engagement campaign to see if we can get them moving. Notify a sales rep when they have an SQL longer than average, that it might be time to return them. So remember that last one we were looking at, how long is our pool of SQLs aging by rep? Well, maybe we say, okay, on average across our portal, somebody that becomes a customer stays in SQL for, let's say, 20 days. Now we know anytime an SQL has been there for 20 days or longer, they're over our average. Maybe we want to notify the rep to do something about that. Or we can do things like celebrate successes with customers. So in this example, we're triggering a workflow when somebody's been in that customer stage for 100 days. So they've been a customer for 100 days. Maybe we want to send them a little email or text message celebrating that fact. New records from Playbooks. So this is also live. It's available to anybody that's got Playbooks. So I was actually really surprised that they didn't lock this down to enterprise only. It is available with the professional level Playbooks. What this allows you to do is make it possible for your users, your salespeople and your customer service reps to create records from directly in a playbook. So a lot of times there might be instances where somebody's having a conversation and they need to create a record after that conversation. Before this, they'd have to save that playbook, go over, create the record, and they kind of, lots of clicks. They kind of lost the context of the notes that they had in those playbooks. So this is just kind of streamlining that a bit. One little thing I'll call out on this screenshot, to be honest, I don't know how long this has been a feature. I couldn't find it in any release updates. I talked to some people that have been on HubSpot and they're like, I think that is new. So in this screenshot, you also see they've got a link to a template. So sorry if this has been around for a while and I've just been in the dark, but I think this is new too. You can link to templates, sequences, sales documents from directly inside of your playbooks as well. So if you want them to send a follow-up email or something like that, linking to a follow-up template, I think that's cool. I don't have any use cases in here because, again, I might have just missed it when it came out. But if that is new, I think it's something cool to play with. But use cases for the creating objects. So let's say you've got a connect call or an initial discovery call playbook, which obviously the goal of that would be to have the sales rep create a deal after that. So hopefully you get the prospect qualified, everything looks good, and we need to continue a sales process. So we want to create a deal so we can track that sales process. So we just put a create deal button. This screen is what it looks like. So we're back to Mr. Boberson. We're talking to him in his discovery call or connect call. That went really well. So we hit that create deal button. You can see the playbook window stays open. It just slides that kind of standard record creation over from the right-hand side, pre-fills all the data it knows based on, it's got Bob's name in there because we know we're creating it from Bob. So it's going to prevent that. It's going to pre-fill some of that information. And I can create that deal while my playbook's still open. So if I need to reference any of the notes from the playbook to fill in those properties, I can do that very easily. Another example would be creating a ticket. So the screen that I'm showing you here is when you're editing that playbook or creating that playbook. This is what it actually looks like to add that button. So you go to Insert Actions and Create Record. But let's say the use case here is, let's say you've got an intake call playbook. So a playbook that you have your sales reps or your customer service reps pull up whenever they get an inbound call to your customer service line. Oftentimes you might be able to resolve the issue right there, and you may choose not to create a ticket, but probably more often it's going to require some follow-up, right? And so if it requires some follow-up, we want to create a ticket so we can track that engagement and make sure that we resolve the customer's issue. So we can just create the ticket right there from that intake call playbook. Object tag filter enhancements, another thing that sounds super technical, but has a lot of awesome use cases. So fairly recently this year, HubSpot allowed us to create tags for deals and tickets so that when we're on our deal view or our ticket view, we can see colored tags that call out things that are important about those deals. And the way that those are powered is based on a filter. And up until now, those filters were limited to the deal or ticket property. So if I wanted to show a tag on a deal, I could do that based on any information that I knew in the deal properties. What they've changed is now I can apply a tag based on any of those deal properties, but also any of the properties on associated records. So records that are associated to those deals. I think the use cases will make that a little bit more clear what I mean here. So let's say we've got companies. Let's say we're using the ABM tools inside of HubSpot. We're labeling companies as target accounts. That data lives on the company record. But let's say when I open up my deal view, I want to very quickly at a glance see all of my deals that are associated with my target accounts. So what we would do here on the left-hand side, you're seeing what that filter looks like. So deals associated to any company, and associated company has all of target account is equal to true. So a lot of HubSpot logic language in there, but basically associated company is a target account. We're going to display this this target account object tag, which you can see here on the right hand side. This is kind of like the upper left hand corner of a deal board view that shows one deal and has that target account label on there. We can also do things like tag tickets from loyal customers. So we're actually doing a callback here to the new properties that are available on lifecycle stages. So in this case, unfortunately, we can only do it in days. So 1,095 days is about 3 years. So anytime somebody has been in that lifecycle stage of customer for more than 3 years, we want to make sure we are on top of those tickets. Those tickets need to be resolved quickly. Maybe we need to put our best people on them. And so when we're looking at all of our tickets, if somebody, if the ticket is coming in from a longtime customer, in this case, it's 3 years, but it could be whatever number makes sense for you. Then we have, then we've got a label that shows up on that ticket for loyal customer. Sequences on mobile. So before I talk about this, anybody's got eagle eyes, I promise this is a HubSpot screenshot. I did not put Kevin McCarthy on here. I would feel like it's way too soon if you're following the news to do that. That was HubSpot, and the screenshot was made prior to everything that went down in Congress yesterday. If you're not in the US or you don't follow the news, don't worry about it. So the update here from HubSpot is that you can now do sequences on mobile, which I think is so huge, especially for people that have sales teams in the field at events using that HubSpot mobile app, which quite honestly has been pretty limited for a long time. And so I'm very excited to see these updates coming out for the mobile app. It is already live. It's available on iOS and Android. And again, this is in the HubSpot app. You have to have Sales or Service Hub and Pro or Enterprise. So basically, you have to have sequences for this to work. Makes sense, right? So some use cases for this. So we can empower reps in the field in a lot of ways. So let's say you're at a trade show. Obviously, we know if we talk to somebody at a trade show, the sooner we can follow up with them, the better. And sequences help us make sure that not only can we follow up with them soon, we can also make sure we're continuously following up with them until they take the action that we want. So combine two tools in the mobile app to do this very, very quickly directly from your booth. You've got a business card scanner inside the mobile app to add them to the CRM, and you can enroll them in a sequence. So in a couple of minutes or even less, right after you engage with somebody, you meet with somebody, you have a good conversation with them at your booth, scan their business card, enroll them in a sequence, move on. No more of this having to have a salesperson or an ops person go through this huge list of people you engaged with and try to enroll them in a sequence, and it takes a couple days and just time consuming. Much more streamlined, much better experience for both you and the person you're trying to get in touch with. You can do immediate and consistent follow-ups from sales meetings you travel to. So if you've got field sales teams, they're going out to meetings, they're traveling to meetings, they're meeting in person with your prospects. Right after they leave, before they drive to the next meeting, they can very quickly enter the meeting notes and start a sequence directly there. So no having to go back to a laptop or back to an office to get them enrolled. And we're seeing more and more people stretch how they're using HubSpot, right? So a lot more people are using HubSpot for more operational things, more delivery things. So if you're using HubSpot to track, installations or service visits, you can also trigger your sequence follow-ups directly after a visit. Same kind of use case as a salesperson in the field, but now you've got an installation person or a service delivery person out in the field. They leave that visit, enroll in a sequence right away. So awesome stuff there. You can enroll in sequences, pause, resume, anything that you can do with a contact and a sequence on the web app, on a laptop or computer, you can now do in mobile. All right, so those were our big use cases. Some of the small but mighty updates are really mighty. Just the use cases are very obvious, so I didn't want to bore you with very obvious use cases for some tools, but there are a lot of great things in here that I think some people are going to be pretty excited about. So the first one, this one isn't that exciting, to be honest, but it's something that you really need to know if you're doing this. So this is actually a sunset. So this takes effect October 26th. So in HubSpot, when you're sending marketing emails, you can set that from email address. Most people, the from email address is a real email address that they or a person on their team manages. Occasionally, people were doing things like using personalization tokens or using email addresses from other domains or other stuff in that from field. And HubSpot didn't really care. You could still send the email. That is what's being sunsetted. Any email from the from address now needs to be verified. So you'll see this verify address button come up if you need to verify that email. A lot of email addresses that most people use are automatically verified. So if the email address is from a connected email sending domain, or if the email address is already tied to an active HubSpot user in your account, then it'll automatically be verified. You don't have to worry about it. Just if you're using those other things. The email will still send if it's not verified. There's some industry standard stuff that HubSpot's going to do to that email, basically to appease the Googles and Outlooks of the world. That's very likely going to result in your email resulting in spam. So if you are sending emails where the from address is not from an email associated with your email sending domain or a user on your account, just make sure it's verified. You have to do that starting October 26th. If you have any automated emails and workflows today that are sending from non-verified from email addresses, highly recommend you go check that out and fix that before the 26th. Updated user tables. This is one of those things that's more exciting. So you can now go into your user settings and you can see all of the users in your portal in a much more streamlined way. But more importantly, you can see more information about them at a glance. So you can see things like what team they're on, whether they have their email connected, whether they have their calendar connected. So great for implementations, great for onboarding new users. You just see a lot more information in a very streamlined table view. This is in public beta today, but it is available to all hubs and tiers. Freezing the first column of an index page. This is another one of those things that's super small, but very mighty. So if you're like me, I like to have a lot of information available to me in those index views. So when I look at a list of contacts or look at a list of companies, I like to be able to see quite a bit of information in those columns. But as soon as you start scrolling to the right, you've got to okay, scroll back to the left really quick and see what company your contact was about, and scroll back to the right. What was this? It's pain, right? So now we can freeze the first column, which is usually going to be the name of that contact or company. so that stays as we scroll. So very small little update, but something that frankly they should have been doing for a long time. They are now doing it. It is still in public beta, so it's probably not live in your account yet. You can go enroll in it, but it'll be coming soon. Again, all hubs, all tiers. The way you do it, you do have to actively do this. So you go to edit columns in the top of that index view, and then you just hit the freeze column above check mark. It only freeze the first column. Custom voicemail audio. So for a while, you've been able to kind of customize via text what the greeting says. Now we can upload our own audio files. We can change languages. So if you're using HubSpot inbound calling, you now have a lot more customization around that greeting, so you can be more personable, more on brand, all that good stuff that we know results in better client experiences, better sales results. Custom CSS to CTAs. So I told you CTAs have been a big topic at HubSpot. There's something that they're really adding more and more capabilities to this new CTAs tool. So up until now, CTAs have always been iframes. So if you put them on a HubSpot page, you put them on a WordPress page, doesn't matter, that's loaded through an iframe, which basically means that the only way you can control what that looks like is in the style settings when you're creating the CTAs, which are fairly limited. So let's say you want a CTA that matches the style of your website, and you already have all of your CSS on your website the way you want it to. You just want to be able to, apply a CSS class or make your just put an H1 in the CTA, and it looks like the H1s on all the rest of your website, right? So what they've got now is an embedded HTML CTA type, which will actually embed the HTML versus an iframe. You can put your CSS classes, and it will basically just make it so that the CTA looks like the rest of your website. So I think we'll see a lot more. Honestly, it's under advanced options, but I think we'll see more embedded HTML CTAs than embedded CTAs of other types, especially if we've got a mixture of like text and images and things like that. So very excited about this one. It'll really help brand consistency. This update is one that I've seen people just nerd out over LinkedIn. I did not understand. I never knew that gauges were so cool, but apparently lots and lots of people happy about gauges, and they are a great new visualization method, especially when you have like a goal or something that you're trying to ramp up to on a regular basis, or a customer satisfaction survey result. Great way to visualize some of those things. So this is a new visualization type inside of custom reports. It is in public beta. Basically, anybody that has access to the custom reports builder, so any hub in a pro or enterprise level, will have access to this. So you just select Gauge as your report visualization, and you've got some ways to edit it. So you can edit, the colors and the ranges that appear there. We've already implemented this for our monthly sales goals, and it really is a helpful way to see a very clear picture of where you're at compared to where you'd like to be at a particular point in time. All right, just a couple more, and then we will wrap up. So QR codes for payment links. So let's say you've got a payment link, somebody can buy a product, and you are going to an event, or you've got a sign in your store or whatever. You can now automatically, you don't have to go to another tool. HubSpot will create QR codes for any payment link. So it is a little bit hard to find. You have to create the payment link. You won't see it anywhere in that creation process. After it's created and saved, if you click on actions, one of the options will be to view QR code. Then you have the option to copy that and paste it onto anywhere that you want to put it into the physical world so that people can scan it and purchase whatever you're trying to sell through that payment link. Last one, this is one that I think, enroll in the beta, go in there today. One of the things that we hear all the time from people that come to us for help because their HubSpot's a mess, they inherited a mess, the person set it up, whatever. I have so many workflows and I don't know what they do. And it takes a while to go through every workflow and look at the triggers and look at the actions. Workflow descriptions are a great way to help people, help future you, and help other people that might be involved in HubSpot in the future understand what's happening and be able to keep things running smoothly. So the update here is that you now have an AI assistant which will look at your triggers, look at your actions in the workflow, and actually create a description based on that. So the example on the screen is a real example. We have a workflow that does some things when somebody registers for one of our webinars. And the things that it does is exactly what this description says. So it updates a contact's marketing status, adds a contact to a Zoom webinar, sends an email, manages email subscription status. That's pretty straightforward, pretty good. I didn't write any of that. You do have the option to edit it before you save if you would like to, or if you don't like it, you can regenerate and have it try again. I will say finding where to add a description to workflow is a little bit hard because there's no button anywhere that says description. What you need to do is open up a workflow or look at your workflow list and edit the name. Anytime you edit the name of a workflow, the description pops up just below it. So that is kind of hard to find. It is public beta, so you have to enroll before you'll see this, but it will roll out live very quickly. So anybody that has workflows, which is any hub except for CMS Hub on Pro or higher, will have access to this beta, and it should roll out live anytime. All right, that's all the updates we have for you. So next steps, what I always recommend, there's a lot of updates we talked about. Identify one or two that your team could really benefit from. So is it, using those lifecycle stage properties? Is it formula fields and reports? What's a couple things that, you've been running up against some limits or some of the use cases, spark some ideas for you. Identify 1 to 2 your team could benefit from right away. You've got 2 options. We can help you get started and help you get that implemented. Simplestrat.com/consult. Free 30-minute consultation will help you get started. Or if you want to do it yourself, what I recommend is that you research the update details on the HubSpot knowledge base or the product updates section. Enroll on a beta. If it's in public beta, you got to actively enroll. And then always, always, always implement it and measure the impact so you can share the success that you have. Really hope you join us again soon. So we do 2 webinars every month. We do our Flywheel Fuel series, which really is about the marketing and sales strategies that HubSpot helps you execute. So it's more strategic execution. So please come to that. That's October 25th. And Ali will be talking about becoming the go-to expert in your industry with the rise of AI and all of the content that we're seeing. I'm sure if your email inbox is like mine, you're getting a ton of cold AI written emails. How do we stand out? Ali's going to be talking about that on the 25th. And then I'll be back first Wednesday of every month. So the next one is November 1st to talk about all the updates that drop in October. And again, use cases for how to use them. All right. Oh, and sign up for those simplestrat.com/webinars. You can sign up for them at any time, but you can do that today. Okay. All right. Alexis, I will turn it over to you. What questions do we have?